Shannon, did you know that there are 17 different departments that make up our Jackson County government?
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And there are even more programs under each of those departments.
It would be great if we could eventually cover each and every one of them for our show.
Well, that is exactly what this segment is designed to do, Joe. Let us introduce you to one of your county departments and programs.
Hello, I'm Bill Mance with Jackson County Close-Up. We're here today with Judge Joe Charter at the Jackson County Justice Court. It's our hope you understand a little more about the Justice Court and a little more about Judge Joe Charter by the time we finish today. So thank you very much for taking the time today, Joe. We just really appreciate you just being willing to share with the community what we're doing over here in Central Point. So thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Give us an overview. Tell us a little bit about, tell us how the Justice Court came to be, tell us the role it plays in the community, and some of the great things that are happening here at the Justice Court.
Yeah, be happy to. So the Justice Court was established in Central Point in 2004. And the reason was, in 2004, Jackson County had the second highest traffic fatality level in the state. And it was put together by people like C.W. Smith and Mike Winter and county administration at that time as to we can reduce traffic fatalities by having a dedicated traffic team. And in fact did accomplish that. So 2 years later, in 2006, traffic fatalities were down below 20 where they had been before, and it stayed that way for about 10 years. Sheriff Corey Falls had a little different idea about traffic enforcement. He disbanded the traffic team, so sure enough, fatalities spiked up again for a year or two. Now we're back at lower than 20 a year. That's a good thing. So the Justice Court really is an integral part of that public safety piece of reducing fatalities on the highways. We do that through enforcement on the law enforcement side. We do it through education. We've been big promoters of traffic school as a diversion if you have a good record, so you can go and relearn those good defensive driving habits.
So what type of cases? I mean, I think that for the general public, Justice Court, they're thinking maybe you're doing murder cases and things like that. So what are you dealing with here at the Justice Court?
We're not. We don't do any crimes at all here. So that's in the board order that set us up. We are set up as a violation court. So we started with only the traffic citations. About 50% of our citations come from the Sheriff's Office. About 30% come from the state weighmaster, which is the port of entry. Commercial vehicles coming into the state at the Ashland port of entry, they have to have their permits, they can't be overweight. So we see a significant portion of those citations for the state. And then in the last few years, we've taken on municipal court services. So First Central Point decided they would we're in the same town. We were 2 blocks away from each other doing the same thing on the same afternoon. So as a part of just governmental cooperation and efficiency, it made sense that we do that for them here. So Central Point and Talent provide about 15% of our case volume. And we're, it varies year to year, but we do about 9,000 citations per year. I have 3 clerks handling that. So one of our performance measure is cases per clerk, and they're always right around 3,000 per clerk. And that's a relatively high case volume per clerk as compared to other local courts.
Gotcha. So you're dealing with the traffic issues. How is that helping our court system overall? It's got to be helping.
Yeah, local courts are sort of the lower rung. I mean, we're not dealing with felonies. We're not taking away kids from their families or, domestic violence, any of those kind of things. It's not entirely happy law. Not everybody leaves happy, but most people say, yeah, shucks, I was speeding, and they pay the ticket or close to it, or they do the traffic school. Also for the municipal court services, we end up doing things like dogs at large, barking dogs, noisy neighbors, nuisance, too much accumulation of junk. So those kind of things where we get to talk to people one-on-one and reinforce, good neighbor skills.
How did they handle those sort of things before 2004?
They did them, you'd have a municipal court judge in Central Point or Talent. And, some of these areas, people are a little close to the margin, or, maybe a guy's got too many skidoos in his front yard and neighbors complain and they have to, look into that. So we talk one-on-one about two people about how to be better neighbors.
I know the court's not designed to self-fund itself. However, tell us a little bit about how you're helping the county budget and other programs out in the county.
Yeah, the Justice Court has always been self-funded, so the budget committee likes us. We're not coming, saying, give us more money next year. We've always covered our costs. Our budget is about $1.2 million. A little less than half of that goes for our operations, the clerks, we all know personnel is a big part of any budget, the operations of the court. And then about half of it goes back to the county general fund.
Wow.
And, in the past, that has, that's $600,000 a year. You could fund 4 or 6 of the law enforcement officers on the traffic team with that kind of. And so it's not a direct relationship. It's never been mostly about revenue or about quotas. It's about, reinforcing good driving habits and keeping the roads safe.
Which is saving lives, which is just really amazing. So there are justice courts around the state. How many are there, and how are they helping the state as well?
Yeah, there are 36 counties, 38 counties, somewhere around there in Oregon. There are about 20 justice courts, so not every county has them. Of course, they don't have them in Multnomah. There are a lot of Eastern Oregon rural counties where they are handling, in addition to traffic, misdemeanors. So they're an important part of those communities, and they often are women judges, and they're often not lawyers. So they're just members of the community, elected, and they do a great job. As far as the financial aspect, the justice courts send to the state every year about $7 million in the fine revenue, because we're enforcing state laws. So that's the state writes those laws, so we comply, and we send that amount to the state every year. The local courts, and there are about 100 municipal courts throughout the state, send an equal amount, about $7 million per year to the state. So $14 million per year goes to the state. They don't pay for these courts. The county or the city pays for these courts, but that's how the laws are set up. So that's a boom to,
For state revenue as well.
State revenue.
Yeah.
It's not a huge part of the state revenue, but it's the same thing when we're having trouble balancing the budget. We go and say, please just let us continue sending you money.
Right.
We're not asking for money like many worthy programs are.
Joe, you shared with me before we met today that you're doing some work on kind of justice, justice reform, and you volunteered to help people. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing over and above just sitting up at the head of the court.
Once a month, I go out to the VA in White City, and I work with Paul Skinner at the Veterans Justice Outreach Program. So vets come in, they have legal issues, we don't represent them, we don't give them legal advice, we point them towards resources. Okay. And many times it's, if they have a criminal record, if they've been going through their substance abuse recovery treatment program there, and they want to re-enter society and become working, tax-paying members of society, those prior convictions hang around. They show up on credit reports or where you're applying to rent. And so one thing we've done with Andy Draper is we just shot, I'm almost in your business now, we shot a video on setting aside convictions in Oregon. And we hope to send that out to other VJO offices in the state or veterans clinics in the state so that a vet can come in and watch a 15 or 20-minute video, figure out how to get the forms and get it filed and get those records expunged. There's also a nice nationwide database called Clean Slate Clearinghouse, and we use that in the video. So this is a cable access program called Andy Draper Show, and there are a couple YouTube videos. If you Googled Andy Draper, one, I talked for two programs on general criminal justice issues.
Thank you very much for the time you spent with us today, and we hope that we've accomplished our goal of you knowing a little more about Justice Court and a little bit about Judge Joe Charter. Thank you.